Hey there, boys and girls. Chris right here with some more Lily content. Today, we're doing another History of Art, this time 1943. So we have 6 lovely things to cover today. First and foremost is Hotel Lobby. Hotel Lobby is a 1943 oil painting on canvas by American realist painter Edward Hopper. It is held in the collection of the Indianapolis Museum of Art, IMA, in Indianapolis, Indiana, United States. Okay, it's a place I cannot pronounce too well. Ugh. Description. The painting depicts 2 women and a man in the lobby of a hotel. On the right is a woman with blonde hair in a blue dress, sitting with her legs crossed and reading a book. To the left sits an older woman in a red dress, wearing a coat and a hat. A man stands next to her, facing forward with a suit and holding an overcoat draped over his right arm. On the left wall above the seated woman is a framed landscape painting. A clerk behind the reception desk is barely visible in the shadows. Context. Hotel Lobby is a signature piece in Hopper's work, displaying his classic themes of alienation and brevity. The Hoppers traveled frequently, staying in many motels and hotels throughout his career. This is one of 2 works in his catalog that depicts a hotel, the other being Hotel Window, 1955. The older couples are believed to represent Hopper and his wife. At that date, let me get down here one second. Sorry about that. In their 60s. Hotel guests have been described as being both traveling and suspended in time, reflecting a stoic and dramatic feeling, reminiscent of the film noir movies Hopper might have seen in the complex structures and feelings of works by Edgar Degas. The painting uses harsh light and a rigid lines to create a carefully constructed, uncomfortable environment. The elevated and theatrical vantage point of the painting may be derived from Hopper's love of Broadway theater, which he often watched from the balcony. Sketches. Before he created the hotel lobby, Hopper drew 10 studies of the work, which were later given to the Whitney Museum of American Art by the estate of his wife Josephine. 9 of 10 studies are described as. Study 1 was believed to have been executed while Hopper in a hotel lobby observed 2 seated figures separated by a lamp and table. That wall features a curtain opening, a registration desk, and a painting on the wall with the stairwell and railing on the left. Study 2 lacks the table and lamp, includes a second painting, which is separated from the other by a wall cycone and 1 figure. I don't know what that means. I think that's like one of those things that hold a light. I think. Study 3 depicts a stairwell being moved into the background. A figure believed to be a male stands in the open doorway to the left of the stairs, while a woman sits to the left of the doorway, with an empty chair, a painting on the wall, and a tiled floor. Study 4 is more refined and has a greater detail. The stairs are now removed with 3 people on the left, 2 seated figures next to a standing man. The rear doorway has a curtain. Columns are on the reception desk. The ceiling appears to be beamed. A second painting is on the wall, and a stripe is added to the floor. Study 5 is double-sided. One side appears to be an abandoned diagram of a room. The reverse side shows the room with a more detailed revolving door, and a return to a single framed painting on the wall. The reception desk columns are more detailed, and the stripe on the floor is darkened. Study 6 is missing. The seated figure from the left, with only 3 figures remaining in more detail. The figures in the elevator are in their final locations. Study 7 shows the 4th figure reappearing by the couple. The ceiling desk, revolving door, and curtained doorway in the elevator all have greater detail. The couple appears to be having a conversation. Study 8 was created to further detail the older woman's clothing and hands, showing her with a gold glove. Study 9 is a partial sketch of a young woman who is reading, which shares a page with sketch 8 in greater detail. Until the sketch, the other seated figure was a man. Interesting. I mean, it's kind of cool to see the evolution of this painting. It went through a lot of work before we got what we got. I wonder if the others are on display anywhere. Probably. The studies show the older couple communicating only to cease their conversations in the final painting. And the reading man is replaced with a blonde young woman reading in the final painting. The modeling for both women in the painting was done by his wife Josephine. After a marriage in 1920, she insisted on being a model for all of his female figures. I wonder why. The coat the older woman wears is based on a fur coat owned by Hopper's wife, a coat she often wore to openings, and a rare find in Hopper's frugal household. Ah. The red dress that the older woman wears, that Jo in her journal describes as coral, signifies anger, extroversion, whatever. While the blue dress worn by the young woman shows her youth and distance. Throughout Hopper's sketches, the clerk does not appear until the final painting. Under X-ray, it can be seen that Hopper did little to change the canvas once he began to work. Most alterations were made in the position of a young woman's head and outlines in some areas in dark blue paint. A partial underdrawing was found, but little details remain. Hopper was known to model himself for figures, as in Nighthawk, leading some to believe he may have modeled from a male figure in a hotel lobby. One of the few paintings by Hopper to lack windows, hotel lobby uses light from revolving doors as in an unseen area from between the ceiling beams. Reception. In 1945, Hopper was awarded the Logan Medal of Arts and $100 honorarium. I can't pronounce that word either. For hotel lobby. The painting was chosen by a jury composed of Juliana Force, then director of the Whitney Museum, and artists Raphael Sawyer and Reginald Marsh. In regards to the painting, Chicago critic C.J. Bulliett stated that Mr. Hopper is getting a little lazy about the excellent formula he has hit. The hotel lobby is typical Hopper, but Hopper that has lost some of its kick. The art has been compared to Hopper's earlier work, Summer Interior, in 1909. The work that helped to create Hopper's signature style, an intimate setting, simple lines and geometry, flat color usage, and moody lighting. Moody light. A shadowy figure and a sensual woman each make another visit in hotel lobby, as seen in Summer Interior. Ownership and exhibition history. The painting was in the collection of Henry Hope from Bloomington, Indiana. From June until December 2006, the Whitney Museum, which has the largest holding of Hopper's works in the world, displayed hotel lobby alongside their own works, and key loans such as Nighthawks, 1942, and the New York Movie, 1939. The hotel lobby is currently on display in the Indianapolis Museum of Art's American Scene Gallery. In 2008, the IMA exhibited the work alongside the 10 studies on loan from Whitney and Edward Hopper, Paint to Paint, which ran until January 2009. Publications. In 1996, Hotel Lobby was used as the paperback cover for the book Hotel Paradise by Martha Grimes. The painting also appears in City Limits, Crime, Consumer Culture, and the Urban Experience by Keith Hayward. Okay, let's get a good look at this bad boy. I really think this fella is really distinguished. I like him a lot. One thing I will say is the hairstyle and the of this lady here is very reminiscent of the time frame. This is the 40s, where you will see a ton of media where it just showcases like this hairstyle, this hair color. I always thought it was pretty cool. I actually really love that hairstyle. I'm kind of surprised it didn't really last. Some things just go. One thing I don't see is I don't see the guy they're referring to, the clerk behind the desk. I don't see him like at all. I mean, like right here, could maybe here, but otherwise, I don't know what you're talking about. Overall, I still think this is pretty cool. This is a very nice painting. Okay, this one is uber important because this painting is one that you're probably taught about in school. If not, then you missed out on some really good history. There's some good lore here. We also see it plenty of times, even nowadays, considering it's a meme now. So this is a part of a series called The Four Freedoms. So we'll probably view all of the freedoms eventually, but we're only doing one freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is the first of the Four Freedoms, a series of oil paintings by Norman Rockwell, inspired by United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt's 1941 State of the Union Address, known as the Four Freedoms. The painting was published in February 20th, 1943, issue of his Saturday Evening Post, with a matching essay by Booth Tarkington. That's a fucking name. Rockwell felt that this and Freedom of Worship were the most successful of the set. Personally, I've never seen Freedom of Worship. I have seen this, so I guess this one really lasted longer between the two. So anywho, background. Freedom of Speech was the first of a series of 4 oil paintings, entitled Four Freedoms by Norman Rockwell. The works were inspired by United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt in a State of the Union address known as Four Freedoms, delivered to the 77th United States Congress on January 6, 1941. Of the four freedoms, the only two described in the United States Constitution were freedom of speech and freedom of worship. The Four Freedoms theme was eventually incorporated in the Atlantic Charter, as well as the Charter of the United Nations. The series of paintings ran in the Saturday Evening Post, accompanied by essays from noted writers on 4 consecutive weeks. For freedom of speech, February 20th, freedom of worship, February 27th, freedom from want, March 6th, and freedom from fear, March 13th. Eventually, the series became a widely distributed in poster form and became instrumental in the United States government war bond drive. People who purchased war bonds during 1943-1944 for Freedom's war bond show received a full-color set of reproductions of Four Freedoms, as well as a commemorative covers with freedom of speech to store the purchased bonds and war-saving postage stamps. That's really freaking cool. So, this is a much longer one. I'm not reading all of this bad boy. I will go through production, but description, I'm just not doing it. Production. The model for the shy, brave young workman was Carl Hess, a Rockwell neighbor from Arlington, Vermont. Hess was suggested as a model by Rockwell's assistant, Jean Pelham. Hess, the son of a German immigrant, was a married man who had a gas station in town. The children went to school with the Rockwell children. Children. According to Pelham, Hess had a noble head. The other models were Carl Hess's father, Henry, left ear only, Jim Martin, lower right corner. He also appeared in the other Four Freedoms paintings. Harry Brown, right top of the head, and eye, and only eye. Robert Benedict Sr. and Rose Hoyt to the left. Rockwell's own eye is visible along the left edge. Pelham was the owner of a suede jacket worn by the model. Hess posed for Rockwell 8 different times for this work, and older model posed for Rockwell individually. Rockwell's final product was the result of 4 restarts and consumed 2 months. Twice he almost completed the work, only to it lacking. Oh boy, I know how that feels. At one point, Rockwell had to admit to Post art director Jim Yates that he had to start freedom of speech from scratch after an early attempt because he had overworked it. Each version fitted the blue-collar man in casual attire standing up at a town meeting, but each was a redundant angle. An early draft had Hess surrounded by others, sitting squarely around him. Hess felt that the depiction had a more natural look, but Rockwell objected. It was too diverse. It went every which way and didn't settle anywhere or say anything. In the final version, Rockwell decided on an upward view from bench level. It focused on the speaker as the subject rather than the assembly, which is fair. I mean, this is a pretty cool attempt nonetheless, but I think ultimately the best attempt was what we got in our final, because this is so good, man. I also like that all of his models are people that he knew. That's pretty cool too. So next up we have Little Sister Fui. Fui? I don't want to pronounce her name. Sorry. Little Sister Fui, or Fui, often referred to as Little Fui, is an oil painting created by the painter Tran Van Can. I'm so sorry to all my Vietnamese people out there. I can't pronounce your names. Not to save my own life. In 1943, depicting the artist's 8-year-old niece. The painting is considered one of Tran Van Can's finest works, as well as one of the typical portraits of 20th century Vietnam. The painting has been recognized as a national treasure by the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Prime Minister Nguyen Thanh Dung in 2013. Description. Little Sister Fui is a frontal portrait of an 8-year-old girl in white clothes, sitting on a rattan chair, slightly leaning with her hands closed. Her position suggests that she is a little shy. She has short hair, bright eyes, and innocent face. The girl in the painting is Nguyen Man Hui, born in 1935. She is Tran Van Can's niece. On July 9th, 2024, Madame Man Hui died at her residence in Phan Nguyen District, Hanoi, at the age of 89. Holy shit, she was actually alive in... That's kind of crazy. She was alive until very recently. Oh man, that was just like the anniversary of her death was just recently, 2-year anniversary. It's kind of crazy. History. Tran Van Can is one of the leading representatives of Vietnamese paintings in the early 20th century. He graduated as valedictorian from the École des Beaux Arts d'Indochine which I believe is the beautiful arts of Indochina. In 1937, in World War II, he often lived with a relative family on Hancock Street, Hanoi. Mun Hui is his favorite little niece in his family, so he painted his niece in a portrait in 1943 with a simple title, Little Sister Hui, M Hui, when Min Hui was 8 years old. I can word, I swear. When the French army returned to occupy Hanoi during the First Indochina War, Hui's family evacuated without taking the painting. By the time they returned, the painting had been stolen. The family then bought the painting from an art dealer who had found Little Sister Hui in a barber's house. Finally, Little Sister Hui was given by Tran Van Can to the Vietnam National Museum of Fine Arts, and in addition to the portrait of an 8-year-old Min Hui, Tran Van Can also had another painting of Hui when she was 23 years old. That's kind of cool. After more than 60 years, the painting began to fall into degradation. In 2003, Little Sister Hui was proposed to be in restoration and preservation abroad. However, the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism in Vietnam did not approve this proposition. A year later, the Australian painting conservator Carlin Fry took responsibility for the restoration of Little Sister Hui at the Vietnam National Museum of Fine Arts. According to her assistant, after restoration, the painting can maintain a good condition for about 20 years. The painting was officially handed over to the Vietnam National Museum of Fine Arts on the 28th of June, 2004. Oh my lord. Reviews! Little Sister Hui is considered one of the most successful portrait paintings of the 20th century of Vietnamese arts. According to art critic Tai Bai Van, Little Sister Hui reflects the inner world of Tran Van Can in the 1940s, when the artist witnessed the restoration process in Vietnam. The painting depicts the youthful girl's face. Inspired by Little Sister Hui, a British man, Paul Zetter, composed a song, Little Hui's Minette. I will not even attempt to try and pronounce that. Holy crap. Oh, I couldn't do it. Okay, I was stumbling, I was blustering, I was being a fool all over that. But we got to the sculptures. We're almost done. Monument of States. The Monument of States was conceived as a symbol of American unity after the attack on Pearl Harbor in I guess I'm not going to give this the year. I know the year. It's located at the 300 East Monument Avenue in Kissimmee, Florida? That's such a name right there. It was built by volunteers with donations of stone that came from around the world, including a rock from President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It was the brainchild of Charles W. Bressler Pettis, who also hoped to become a unique tourist attraction for the city. Well, I mean, it's cool. I like the idea of it. Conception and design. When the United States came under attack from the Empire of Japan on December 7th, 1941, Charles W. Bressler Pettis was a retired physician living in Florida. It was president of the Kissimmee All-States Tourist Club that catered to senior citizens. He had served in both the Royal Army Medical Corps and the United States Army during World War I. Pettis devised an idea to erect a unique monument in Kissimmee that he hoped would inspire American solidarity in response to the attack. As a promoter of local tourism, Pettis was also looking to draw in visitors to Kissimmee with a unique attraction. He listened for his friend J.C. Fisher to work with him on designing a monument that would contain a rock from each state. The result of Pettis' collaboration with Fisher was a step pyramid weighing around an estimate 100,000 pounds. It reinforced with oh my lord, that's a lot. Tons of steel rails. At the top sits an American eagle and the flag of the United States, resting on a blue concrete orb. Speculation has been offered by the National Park Service and others it is possible that Pettis might have influenced by the fireplace of states. In Benjamin, Minnesota. Wow, my own country has some really weird names. Built by the Works Progress Administration in 1934 to 35. The Benjamin fireplace was constructed with stones from each of the then 48 states. Alaska and Hawaii were considered territories at the time of the monument's construction and will not become safe until 1959. That's tough. I mean, that's how you show it's a really dated piece, you know? Really dated. Construction. Oh, our favorite. The Florida Monument was built entirely through volunteer labor, mostly by senior citizens of a travel club. Governors of each state received letters from Pettis asking for a rock donation to build a monument. Local government and civic organizations as well as area businesses and individual residents donated time and materials, including 507 donations of 1 bag of cement each. Oh, that's cool. Those in Kesme who contributed any in manner have their names inscribed on the adjacent sidewalk. Pettis had amassed a collection of thousands of rocks in his travels and donated many of them to the project. Franklin D. Roosevelt donated a rock from his estate in New York. By the time of its 1943 completion and dedication by Florida's United States Senator Claude Pepper, it was composed of 1,500 stones and the objects donated from all over the world. When Pettis died in 1954, Kissimmee changed its regulations on burials to permit a portion of his remains to be sealed inside the work. That is so cool. A plaque honoring Pettis was placed on the monument. That's good. That's very good. Restoration and NRHP. As tourism was drawn away by the 1971 opening of Walt Disney World in Orlando, of course, Disney. In Orlando, the Kissimmee Monument fell into neglect and disrepair. On March 28, 1993, the city of Kissimmee had a rededication of the monument and sealed a time capsule within it. The American Automobile Association stepped in to help restore it in 2001. The monument was added to the National Register of Historic Places on December 8th, 2015. Lord. So we have another Four Freedoms related thing, because this is a very important period in time. The Four Freedoms Monument was commissioned by Franklin D. Roosevelt, following his articulation of the Four Freedoms in his 1941 State of the Union address. This was yet before the attack on Pearl Harbor and the preservation of the United States in World War II. Roosevelt felt that through the medium of arts, a greater number of people could be inspired to appreciate the concept of the Four Freedoms. According to Roosevelt, the four fundamental freedoms are freedom of speech and expression, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. The statue was created by the sculptor Walter Russell later that year and was funded by the Women's National Institute. In 1943, it was dedicated to Colin P. Kelly, one of the first recognized American heroes of World War II, before a crowd of 60,000 people at Madison Square Garden in New York City on June 14, 1944. The monument was rededicated to Kelly's hometown of Madison, Florida, with a speech by Governor Spencer Holland. Related monuments. The Four Freedoms Monument in Evansville, Indiana, was designed by Evansville architect Rupert Condict. It consists of 4 24-foot 7 by words, tall Ionic Indiana limestone columns, each inscribed with one of the four freedoms. Surrounding these central columns are 50 uniformly shaped blocks, representing the 50 states of the United States. Each block represents a state and it shows its seal in a state of becoming a state. The monument was dedicated in 1976 in commemoration of the United States bicentennial. The Four Freedoms Monument of Cleveland, Ohio, is located in the Tremont neighborhood. It consists of a single column with one of the four freedoms printed on each side. On top of the column is a sculpture of two hands holding a globe of the earth. So one thing I did realize as I was reading this is that I actually forgot to show off this bad boy. So, you can guys get a look here. Oh, Harvard Medical School. That's pretty cool. Oregon, Wyoming. As you can see, this thing is beautiful. West Virginia. I really do like how it shows all the states. And there's Hawaii. So, enough of that. We can get a good look here, too. Look at this. This thing is beautiful. I imagine the fourth one is on the other side, of course. For Freedom's Monument. I thought this cool looking, it looks like an estate, honestly. And this last one is pretty short. The Uwasara Monument. Uwasara Monument is a statue of Uwasara in Yangon, Myanmar. It's located directly west of the northwest corner of the Kandawamagala Lake on Uwasara Road. It's located several meters, or metries? I don't know. Southwest of the Shawangan Pagoda. The statue was erected on August 1st, 1943. Yeah, for this year, there was not that many sculptures. I'm not really sure why. But nonetheless, this looks pretty trippy. It kind of reminds me of that Squid Games girl. You know what I mean? Of course, no disrespect. I'll just point out a thing I've noticed. But any case, this has been a fun year. I apologize for blubbering around there. Today's not my day. That's what I've noticed. But it's whatever. Because it's what? On Friday, we have magazines to go over. Woohoo, magazines! Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Please like us have more, and peace.